I wouldn't worry, Gail. There's still a lot of up people in this town.
We've been following Last of Us Season 2, and last week was crazy.
Fireflies.
So let's talk about the aftermath. But first, make sure you like and subscribe so we can keep on making you awesome videos. Okay, let's get to it. I don't like starting with the recap, but the episode kind of does too by reminding us that yeah, Joel died last week, and there was the most epic zombie battle I've maybe ever seen, at least since World War Z. We have to at least talk about the repercussions of Joel dying and the repercussions of this massive battle with all of the infected just slamming up against the walls. Craig Mazin did say that Joel would be coming back in another episode, so it's not the last we've seen of Pascal, but I will say it will be a while because this episode kind of took us on completely another path. And of course, we see Ellie waking up in the hospital, and she wakes up like she was in a nightmare, but she realizes that she actually woke up back into the nightmare where Joel was murdered right in front of her, and she knows this because she sees herself in a hospital, so it all must have been real. And she didn't get a chance to make things right with Joel, and that's really gonna weigh on her. But we'll get to that in just a second. When you really think about it, poor Tommy. He saved the town, he did everything that he was supposed to do. He set up the defenses, he made sure everybody was where they were supposed to be. He was the dude. But at the end of the day, he can't save someone if he's not there, so he wasn't able to do anything for Joel. On top of having to take on the rebuilding of the town and getting the defenses back right and getting all the infected out of the town, they definitely just brush over this, but having a bunch of infected cordyceps in the town can't be good. So they have to figure out what they're gonna do with all of that. Maybe those flamethrowers come back in handy. I don't know what the move is. But then again, Tommy is trying his best to, be that dude. He was so happy whenever he saved the town. He was so proud, at least probably for a moment until he found out about Joel hours later. And then that must have put a bittersweet taste in his mouth. Like he can't win no matter what he does. Like remember the feeling or the look on his face right before the dogs got there in the Battle of Jackson? Yeah, that's what I'm calling it now, the Battle of Jackson. I think it deserves a cool Game of Thrones name. So if you agree, let's all put Battle of Jackson in the comments. That would be really cool. Anyways, the thing that we have to remember is that this show is not just telling us the story of Ellie and Joel. It's telling us the story of everyone through the eyes of Ellie and Joel. So the town continues. It needs to rebuild. All of these people have to go back to living their lives. They need to make sure they have food, water, shelter, all of these things. Just because Joel dies doesn't mean that the video game just flips to revenge mode. This is a different way to tell that story. So revenge mode becomes rebuild mode. Ellie actually needs quite a bit of time to recover from her injuries in the hospital. Whenever they kicked her, it must have really reopened that wound. So she needed some time to recover, and after 3 months, she is ready to go, but there is only one thing stopping her. She needs to see Gail, the therapist. Gail seems to be prying just a little bit too much, like she might have a hidden agenda, but I do think that she might be a force for good, but that might also be the big twist that we are lured into trusting Gail. We're lured into liking Gail, but really she is a Firefly through and through, and the Fireflies do not like Joel, and the Fireflies are looking for Ellie because Ellie holds the key to saving the world, I guess, but I don't really know if they would be able to actually get this cure out, or if it would just be some sort of deterrent so that they could just wipe the cordyceps out without worrying about getting infected. That's a whole different thing. Ellie gets out and she gets to go home, or what used to be Joel's home because she moved to the garage apartment, but now it kind of feels like a museum. Like it's the history of a life that will never happen again, the life that Ellie used to live. But she does find Joel's gun and watch, the one that Sarah had fixed for him on Outbreak Day, so it was important to him. the watch, not the gun. And Ellie has a moment to begin grieving because she doesn't let anyone see her emotions. Well, she lets people see her sarcasm and I guess maybe her anger, but other than that, people don't really get to see any other side of Ellie. So she has a touching moment to herself, but that's whenever DINA comes in and she reveals that she's known the names of all of the people that killed Joel and where they're from, and kind of a way to find them, just at least she knows what to look for. And she kept this information from Ellie because she thought it might be better to let Abby and her team get to Seattle so they don't get lost along the way, and Ellie needed to heal up. She was probably gonna be no good to anyone, and she just wants to Rambo in all the time. Another thing that we'll get to in just a second, but there's a whole nother thing now, is that Ellie was just kind of gonna go charge in, but DINA wants to enlist the entire town, which would make it way more easier, higher probability of success. Tommy isn't ready to just barge in either, so it's not gonna be a team of one. He needs to talk to Maria. And then Maria is gonna talk to the rest of the town in a town meeting, because technically this could backlash on the entire town. They don't know how many of these wolves are out there. So just because you're going to find 5 people doesn't mean that you're going to only get those people and not bring anything back with you. And not to mention, the town has been through a lot in the last couple of months. They're just rebuilding buildings after the thaw and all of this stuff. So I don't know if Ellie is fully understanding that she's not the only one that lost someone. But again, we're going to break these things down just a little bit more as we go. That's whenever we actually flash to the Seattle area and we see this small cult-like group. They seem to be peaceful, they don't have guns, they have bow and arrows, and they seem to carry a hammer. They have cut Joker smiles on their cheeks. I'm not gonna say that that's a cool thing to do to kids. It's a cultural thing, religious. This is America. So I'm not gonna say that I'm judging, but don't do that to kids, okay? Just saying. I'm just gonna say this, don't do that to kids in our world. This is the post-apocalyptic world and things are just a little kooky. So I'm just saying, let's just, not mutilate any children. But either way, they have these Joker smiles and they actually seem like healthy people. Whether they are religious fanatics or not, they are literally physically healthy. Like they eat well and they're surviving, but they are fleeing a war and they use this really cool whistle system to warn for enemies. They're religious fanatics, but it doesn't seem like they're the worst kind of religious fanatics. If you were just trying to survive, I don't think it'd be the worst place to end up if you ended up with these people. And eventually this cult does hear the warning whistle and they run to hide like the hobbits in Fellowship of the Rings. And they say that they're not hiding from the demons, which I'm sure are the infected, but they're hiding from the wolves, which was the patch on Abby and her team's backpacks. So they take us back to Jackson for the vote, or at least they're waiting for the vote. Ellie is training with Jesse, trying to get back to where she was before she was injured. And he's now on the council. And actually, we're not gonna lie, Jesse is kind of awesome. He's kind of like the overachiever in the post-apocalypse. That's kind of who we all want to be. You don't want to be the guy that chops the meat like Seth. I'm not saying anything against that, but you want to be a super handy person that everybody looks to for guidance in this place, because that's where your worth will come. If you want to be the billionaire of the post-apocalypse, be the guy that everybody needs and relies on. But anyways, Jesse tries to help Ellie by giving her a little advice that don't just shoot from the hip, don't be angry, because people don't want to vote for angry. People want to vote for inspiration. People want to vote for leadership. So she does sit down and write something. So whenever we do finally get to the meeting, we find that the proposal is 16 fighters, and that's a lot. I'm not gonna lie, that is a lot for the city of Jackson or the town of Jackson. But at this meeting, everyone's gonna get to speak, or at least everyone that signed up, and almost all of them have good points. A lot of people are saying that, they're not the only person that lost someone. Joel is not the only person that died. Yes, he was the only person murdered by other humans or non-infected humans, but Ellie and Tommy are not the only people that lost someone. And that's hard to say, and they're trying to be polite about it, but it's true. And other people are talking about the act of revenge. You don't want to be a vengeful person, and he doesn't want everyone here to be moved by acts of revenge, because also, where does that end? They live in a world of just raiders and bad things happening all over the place. If you have to avenge every single wrong that happens to you, where does that end? You become the bad thing. And that guy's right too. But then finally, Seth actually steps up and he makes a great point that it might not even be about Joel or be about Ellie. He might be trying to save face or something like that, but it's not about Joel and Ellie. It's about them as a community not getting walked all over by anyone that comes to their door. If somebody comes into their house and they kill someone, they deserve to be executed back. And again, that is exactly what the other guy was saying is the problem. But when you think about it, it's also right. But they didn't come into your house. They were at a ski lodge down the street. And I'm sure everybody is keeping that in mind too. Nobody snuck in and nefariously murdered Joel in his bed. He was out on patrol. He came across some unsavory people and those people killed him. Yes, it's a deeper plot. Yes, these people were trying to find Joel, but I don't know if they're spreading that much to the public. And finally, it's Ellie's turn, and she actually reads a speech, and she kills it. You know, you wouldn't think that out of her, but Bella Ramsey is amazing at these kind of things. Her speech in Game of Thrones was good, and she was like supposed to be playing like a 12-year-old girl. I don't know how old she was in that, but you don't expect the inspirational speech for a battle to come from a child, you know. It's about fighting together, not about getting revenge. It's that as a town, that if someone hurts one of them, they hurt all of them. So it is kind of what Seth is saying, but it's not for the same reason. It's that if somebody hurts one of your family, we step up together. We are a team. We are a family, a group. We are the Jackson people. And if somebody messes with you, they mess with me. And if they mess with me, they mess with you. When it's vote time, it's actually kind of a landslide. Only 3 people vote to go, and I think 8 people vote to not go. So no one's going, but you can tell in Ellie's face that's not really going to happen. After everything we've seen in the last episode, they actually flash to a Little League baseball game. Yes, the uniforms are like drawn together and put together like you would in the Great Depression or something like that, but they're just trying to live life. They're families, and the therapist is out watching the game. It turns out that she used to be a diehard MLB fan. Didn't expect that. She used to be a Tigers fan, which I didn't expect that either, which just means that she is a glutton for punishment. Sorry guys. She might be a masochist, another reason why we might not be able to trust her. Either way, she is a straight shooter, and she helps Tommy because now he's also taking on Ellie. Like he doesn't have enough on his shoulders, like he already takes care of the town. He's kind of the mayor, the handyman, the foreman, the tactical engineer, and now that Joel is gone, he has to throw back in as the contractor. It's just probably a lot for him. He probably doesn't get a lot of time to chill. It's probably really nice for him that Jesse is stepping up and he's kind of moving into the older brother Joel position, and Jesse is moving into the Tommy position, and it kind of gives him a chance to maybe do it better this time, you know, because he doesn't have to deal with the infected and the outbreak and whatever held Joel back before, you know. But Gail does help Tommy. She basically tells him that nothing is going to stop Ellie. You need to stop thinking about it that way. Some people are unstoppable. You can't help them. They are going to have to figure it out themselves. And Ellie is one of those people. Joel was one of those people. To be honest, Tommy was one of those people. And boy, is Gail the therapist right. Ellie's garage apartment looks like Rambo's closet right now. Gina comes in and kind of busts her, but she also is the brains of the operation. She has a map. She's been thinking about this for 3 months, so she actually has a plan where Ellie just kind of started thinking about this, and her whole thing is like get enough ammo so that she can kill all of the people. And that's probably not going to get you there, and it's probably not going to handle everything that you need to handle, like if you get a fever or a twisted ankle, or you need to lay up in a cave so that you could fix these things. It actually turns out that Seth is actually the guy that gets them everything they need to go. He's a grouch about it, but he is helping out the cause, and I don't think it has anything to do with what Seth said that night. It's that he did have a lot of respect for Joel, and this is how he shows it, and he also agrees that these people need to be dealt with. I don't know if Seth is the person that you want on your side in a political conversation. He kind of trumps his way through everything, but in this particular situation, he does come through. On the way out of town, Ellie stops at Joel's grave and has a moment and even leaves a little bit of coffee, the old man's favorite. This is really touching, and this is actually a moment that we get to say goodbye to Joel, at least in the idea that he's no longer going to be continuing the story. We might have flashbacks to him, but we're going to move on from here without him. And this is how Craig Mazin and the other creators of the show are letting us, the audience, say goodbye to Joel and let us think about the memories, about the journey from Boston to Wyoming, and how it's all flashing through her head, but it's also flashing through our head, the good moments and the great moments, and all of the just heartbreaking moments are all going through your head, and it just gives us a moment to say, goodbye, Pedro. We'll see you as Reed Richards in Fantastic Four. So they continue their journey, they're playing games and stuff like this. I don't have a lot to say about the games or whatever, but I will say that there is no way in the world that Frank Zappa is better than Fleetwood Mac. I don't know what you're thinking. If this is really where the show is gonna go, I might stop now. I just wanna throw that out there. Neither one of them are my favorite bands of all time or my favorite artists of all time, but I just want you to know that there's really not even a scale that doesn't go tip 100% in the favor of Fleetwood Mac. But either way, we're gonna move on. That upset me, and I'm gonna try to calm down. But if I can't calm down, I want you to know it's Dina's fault for saying that Frank Zappa was better than Fleetwood Mac, okay? All right, it was her fault. Okay, here we go. Don't get mad at me, get mad at Dina, all right? Get mad at her. On this journey, Dina is now kind of the new Ellie, and Ellie is kind of the new Joel. She wants silence, and Dina wants to talk about everything and play games, or at the very least tell stories. So Ellie tells her the real happy story about how she had to shoot that kid in Kansas City, and it actually started a really big deal, but they never really got that close to the situation, so Ellie doesn't know about all of the backlash for that. And one thing is gonna be very clear, that there's gonna be a lot more awkward tent moments. We never had awkward tent moments, but Ellie has a big crush on Dina. The tent seems like a great place to, at the very least, cuddle. And Dina is playing every single game ever. It's actually kind of annoying. She's saying that she's not a lesbian anymore, but she's still very, very flirty. And this whole, I'm about to go to sleep and then wake up into full energy, I'm not gonna lie, that is the most annoying thing I think I have ever seen in my life. This is still back to the Frank Zappa conversation, but if a girl did that to me, if she even gave me 15 seconds to relax and to get comfortable, and then she woke up like we were never going to go to sleep, I would be like, are you okay? What did you take? Because I'm sleepy. And also, she says all of this kind of mean stuff. She says that she's still into Jesse, that she's gone back to Jesse while Ellie was in the hospital. And Ellie isn't feeling so great about all of the things that she said right before bed. Think about what Dina just said. She said, I'm gonna shatter all of your dreams of love and happiness. Good night, babe. So we're getting closer to the end of the episode, and we find that cult member that we saw before, and he has a couple of shots in his back. They've never seen the symbol, they've never seen the cult member, but what they do see is all of the other cult members dead in the woods where they were hiding. Remember whenever they were hiding like the hobbits from Fellowship of the Rings? Yeah, they didn't make it any farther than that. And if this was the wolves, if this was Abby's group, they killed everyone, even the children, and it seems like they did it completely indiscriminately. And that is definitely not a good way to rebuild the world. And it reminds me of whenever Joel was talking about the mass killings right after the outbreak, where if they couldn't fit you into one of the safe zones, they just took you and killed you to make sure that you wouldn't become infected. And it could have been Abby's group, just them, that did this, because this just might be what they do. If they find someone, they just might fire on them. They might just execute them on site because they're not one of them. And it doesn't have anything to do with them being a cult member or anything like that. It's just the way that they handle business. And whenever Ellie and Dina see this, they are fired up now. They are really ready to meet them, and they're only 9 miles away from Seattle. But our episode does end with them showing up there, but that's whenever we see that the wolves have armored vehicles and maybe 200, 300, 400, 500, 1,000 troops. You know, it doesn't really show you how far it keeps going, and it doesn't tell you if this is their only army, but Ellie is not ready for this. I don't know how much wrestling she did in the barn, but this is not okay. Either way, like and subscribe. Tell me what you think Ellie and Dina are gonna do. Don't spoil it if you've played the games. We're watching the show right now. And again, like and subscribe so that we can continue making more videos and we can all talk about it in the chat. All right, thanks.
Hey, thanks for watching. Click here for more videos and subscribe to keep up with all the Blake's World updates. I'd appreciate it. All right, I'll see you next time.